Welcome everybody. My name is Maralee Burnett. I'm your astrologer, back with the messages for the week of August 17th, which is of course the week between that new moon solar eclipse that happened in the sign of Leo and that upcoming full moon lunar eclipse that's happening in the sign of Pisces, which is going to bring the Pisces portion of the work that we've been doing since 2024 to a close, and maybe dramatically, but we'll talk more about that at the end of the video as we preview what's going to happen for next week. This week, it's just all about that transition energy, the new opportunities that have started to present themselves to you, but before they can start, there is some things that we need to complete and let go of. And that's what this week's work is about. Now, hopefully you've clicked on that subscribe button, so none of this is new to you. But if not, now's the perfect time to do that. And then more importantly, to go out to my website, maraleeburnett.com. Of course, the link to that will be down below, but there you can have access to all of the written material that I've created for you that goes along with these videos, and even with the daily tarot cards and astrology posts that I do. You can have access to whatever it is that works best for you by going out there on my website, as well as booking sessions with me there, of course. So this is time to prepare for closure and endings, and to get yourself there. We have some energy that's going to help us as we move throughout the week. Now, of course, I'm going to pull up this Astro Gold software. We're going to break it down day by day, focusing in on those days that have the most significant energy events that are going on. And then if you want to get more prepared for that lunar eclipse, as I mentioned, if you're a member out there on my website, then you have access to that full moon lunar eclipse article, which includes a breakdown for every sign. And as I mentioned, it's a very intense lunar eclipse because it's going to be in a T-square, which means the sun and the moon are both going to be under pressure from the planet Uranus, which is in the sign of Gemini. And that creates this big mountain of pressure. And as we go throughout this week, we may start feeling that pressure build in some way. And in order for pressure to be relieved, well, either they're going to go exploding externally, or you're going to have to absorb the energy and work on it internally and see the bigger picture instead of getting so hung up on the details. As I mentioned, we'll talk more about that next week. For now, let's do the breakdown for the week ahead, focusing in here first on Monday, August 17th. And as you can see here, we have a lot of activity still in the sky because of the fact that we have a very active outer planet connection still with the minor triangle going on. But what's changed from last weekend to this week? Because of course you've listened to last week and you knew that as we rounded out the week, we started to have a really positive conversation between Jupiter in the sign of Leo. And by the way, you can now start to see Jupiter. And it is thought that when a planet becomes visible again, meaning we can see it on the horizon and rising in and through the sky, that we're more able to access the energy externally. And so this is now the time when Jupiter is visible in the sign of Leo, and now speaking harmoniously with Venus, that we could have some pretty big opportunities present themselves. So these are both what we call the benefic planets, so generous, gentle planets that provide us with opportunities. And when they speak in harmony of the 60 degrees apart called a sextile, there is a gentle, subtle opportunity. And so this is something that you need to tune in and pay attention to. And those of you who have personal planets that happen to be around the 10 degrees of Leo and Libra are going to feel this the most. And so you want to tune in and pay attention. Leo, leadership, joy, happiness, growth, and then Venus in her own sign of Libra, which is about relationships, relating to other people, legal issues, balance, money, right? Partnerships, all of those things are working together. So there can be, new leadership teams created, for instance, opportunity to join and work with another leader in your life, and a great amount of energy behind having fun and joy return to our lives. So hopefully that means as we get started here on Monday, we have some, really beautiful opportunities to have fun and to take advantage of, which I know could be challenging if you're at work on Monday morning, but it could be good news at work for you as you show up to the office that day. So instead of having a dreaded Monday, this could be one that gives you big opportunities. Now, throughout the weekend preceding today, we of course had Mars in the sign of Cancer, making an odd connection across the sky to Pluto in Aquarius, and it's been squaring to Neptune in Aries. So this kind of energy can make it hard on families. There can be challenges to your feelings and your emotions, and that Mars energy can trigger you and cause you to react in ways that you wouldn't usually. So it's a good time still here on Monday to pay attention to your triggers and to not stay stuck there. Instead, lean into this Jupiter and Venus energy to help offset some of this discomfort. But the other thing we can get from the square, which is a 90-degree angle from Mars, action, war, and Neptune in Aries, which is ruled by Mars, is a sudden change in direction as far as maybe foreign people, immigration, spiritual leaders. So there can be some changes there, but there also can be some people who use this energy and, in the name of whatever religion, are making some kind of attacks. So this, like I said, is a really uncomfortable energy that we just want to make sure we're not getting caught up in or swept up in. And if you're feeling triggered or uncomfortable, pick up the phone and have a conversation with somebody that can, help you move forward and move through that energy instead of staying stuck in it. We do still have on Monday that moon in Libra as well. So the moon moved in here on Saturday. So we've had about 2.5 days of more balance as far as our emotions go, and a need to be with other people, relate to other people. So this energy changes significantly as soon as the moon moves into the sign of Scorpio, where things can feel a little bit more dark, definitely more intense, and it can stir things up, that have been hidden. So as I continue to mention, we're very much in this energy of fate and destiny because the nodes, the north and south, are activated by the eclipse energy. And part of that conversation today is highlighted by that moon that's moving through the last degrees of Libra. So again, there can be some emotional connections that are made for you on Monday, and it would be something that fate has created for you because of the fact that there's that sextile to the south node, there's a trine over here to the north node in Aquarius, and they're both still speaking in harmony with Chiron. So there's this continued energy of healing, of seeing our pain and what's causing it, and how to resolve it. So that is a pretty intense Monday, but a good balance between what can help us move forward and then the triggers that we need to be aware of and moving on from. So choose to move on and move forward and don't stay stuck in the past. But it could prove to be an amazing day, but the good things that could come as a result of something that's a bit of a disappointment as well because of that Mars conversation with Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. So that is part of the energy that's going on today. Let's move us ahead and take a look at what we come up with on Tuesday. And as I mentioned, Tuesday, this is when that moon moves into the sign of Scorpio. Now, if you ever want to do a project that can be really enlightening, I guess I would say, take a journal and follow the moon. So about every 2.5 days, that moon's going to change signs. And then you're going to get an understanding for how you feel emotionally when the moon is in different signs. And then compare that to the moon you have at birth so that you start to understand what you need to feel safe and secure, which is your moon sign, and how that feels when the moon is in different energies. And it's just a really good way to get in touch and in tune with your emotions. And then there's different levels and layers that you can work through. And that's a great thing to sign up for a session and work with me on so that we can talk through how to focus in. So here on Tuesday, as that moon moves into the sign of Scorpio, it's time to tune into the things that you are doing or maybe not doing because of fear, right? Scorpio can deal with issues with intimacy and power. It is the occult, right? It's all the things that are not above the surface, right? This is Pluto energy. It's ruling, I should say, the underworld, right? Where we can get stuck and trapped in fear loops. And so as the moon moves through here, we can have a tendency to do that to ourselves. And the moon does square with Jupiter as it moves through here, and it's going to square with Mercury as well. So there is this need to release the fear that we have so that we can have joy again in our lives, so we can laugh. Mercury in the sign of Leo. And so there is something that you can tune into and become more aware of and free yourself from as a result of the moon moving through this sign. And as I mentioned, it'll be there for 2.5 days. So as we move ahead to Tuesday, same thing, as I mentioned, we still have that moon in the sign of Scorpio. Now, the moon makes its first quarter square. So you have the new moon in the sign of Leo, and then as it gets to the sign of Scorpio, it's a challenge to you and the eclipse energy. So what were you meant to begin? What were you meant to release and let go of? And if you haven't done that work yet, well, as the moon moves through here, it's the checkpoint for us to take a closer look at what we're supposed to be building, and are we actually building it, or are we getting in our own way and not allowing the changes to come in or come through? So it's good work wherever the moon first hits that 90-degree mark and squares the sun. It's an opportunity for us to say, okay, I was going to release anything that was keeping me or blocking me from stepping into my leadership role that is meant for me. And if I'm still hiding from the light, then here's a good day to change that, right? A square can challenge you, or a square can help redirect you and send you where you're meant to be. And so there might be something you adjust on Wednesday as a result of that square. And then as we move to Thursday, this could be a pretty impactful day because of the fact that Mercury is activating the eclipse point. So you have a personal planet that rules information, it rules transportation, and it's in the sign that is about leadership. And so there could be some announcements today. There could be someone who's stepping down from a role of authority and making way for somebody new to step up and step into their opportunity, right? I always say eclipses are most often something that happens to somebody else that then opens an opportunity for you. Now, if you have personal planets at 20 degrees of Leo or 20 degrees of Aquarius, you're going to feel this more significantly. And now, some of those details, some of the information about what's been happening or why it's been happening is made clear to you on this day. And of course, eclipses take things out. And so, like I mentioned, there could be somebody who is taken out, stepping down, somebody younger because of that Mercury influence, a young person in a leadership role that is making some kind of a significant change today. So we have that energy going on, which again could be really shocking. And if you felt like nothing happened during the eclipse, well, when this moves in here, it becomes more personal and you become more aware of what's been going on around you. And you may start to hear of new opportunities that become available to you. And then that moon energy now is moved into the sign of Sagittarius. So this is a need for adventure, a need for growth, a need for big things. Could be a need for visiting or going to or living in a foreign country or having an education of some kind that helps you grow and expand your horizons. But today, that moon in Sagittarius is challenged by Uranus and Gemini. So there's some conflict about what we think we know. And this can be an emotional person that really feels like they know it all, and they're being challenged by somebody new with new information. Could be a scientific conflict of some kind, for instance. It's brief because, of course, the moon moves pretty quickly, but we still may feel challenged emotionally today, and maybe even challenged by authority figures. There could be a bit of a bigger challenge, which I can't imagine, in the Middle East, because of course Sagittarius rules foreign countries and foreign places. So something to be aware of, that you yourself don't get drug into conflicts where everybody's sure that their way is the right way. Today's a day where we do better when we are learning to meet in the middle instead of digging in. Digging in will not serve you in today's energy at all. And then we move ahead to Friday, and that energy of that conflict again comes through, but this time it's with Venus, of course, in her home sign of Libra, and Saturn, who's retrograde now and has been reviewing the last several months of work that we've been doing on ourselves. And so there's something about the balance of power between what maybe an older leader wants and what the people that he's in a relationship with want. And that conflict between these two people, is seen on the world stage. And then in your own life, it's what you want out of your relationship, and it's what your partner wants, and those things are in conflict with one another. And this is a day again where, Venus and Libra is very much people pleaser. Whatever you want, as long as I can be in this relationship with you. Let me lavish you with all the things, all the money, and all the gifts, all the fancy foods. While Saturn in Aries is like, no, this isn't about getting lavish gifts. This is about each of you being who you are and not needing to buy somebody's love. So there's all kinds of challenges that can come up today, but when you're being responsible, when the two of you are in an interdependent relationship where you do allow each other to be who they are, and then equally supportive when you come together, that's the ideal of what we want to work through at this time. So again, don't get caught up in battles for being the top dog in relationships, for instance. It's like, no, it's not worth it. This is a time to figure out, how can we dissolve the conflict? How can we meet in the middle? How can we cooperate? And then you're much stronger together than you are divided. So that is what we see on Friday. And then we have a really powerful day on Saturday as the sun hits the last degree, so the anaretic 29th degree of Leo, and meets up with the south node, of course, there, and the north node in Aquarius. So this can be a fated day as far as the energy of succeeding, of leadership. There can be, again, an even bigger announcement about somebody in a leadership role, somebody in the royal family that is stepping down, stepping away, stepping back into North Node in Aquarius, a role where they're in and among the people instead of leading the people. This is somebody who wants to step down and fulfill more of a service type role for the people, which is Pluto in Aquarius. So there could be a significant change. And as I've mentioned, because these are fated events, like in the world or in the company, in your family, like there can be somebody in a leadership role that we are releasing and letting go of. Now, Leo energy also has to do with children and joy and happiness. And there can be somebody from your past, a childhood friend, for instance, that sees how successful you are and invites you to join them and be of service in some way. So there's lots of different ways that this can show up. Depends on the houses being activated. But for instance, this chart, this is a 10th house event. So this could be somebody from your past, if this were your Scorpio rising chart, that you used to work with, that is, again, seeing how successful you are and wondering if you want to join them and become a part of this service group or work that they are a part of, and to think that you could help make a big difference. So lots of excitable energy, I think. Now, the 29-degree energy is also what I always say, this is a test. So this is something you've been learning through the last month, especially with the eclipse, about what it is to open your heart again, what it is to find your joy, to find happiness, and to let yourself be happy. And there can be, like I said, somebody from your past, somebody that was a part of a time of your life when you were really happy, that surfaces now. And maybe they tempt you with something that you know you're not aligned with. Like that can be the test where you're like, I'm not going to go back there with that person and repeat that pattern, right? And you pass the test and you get to move on. So again, the story would depend on your own chart and what's happening there. But the South Node is the things that we've already experienced. These are the things that we're really good at. We're very strong. We have good skill set. And that skill set helps us understand our North Node, destiny, where we're headed, what we're meant to do. We are learning, just like every opposition, to balance the two. Now, if I stay too stuck in the past, then of course I can't understand the work of the North Node in Aquarius, uniting people, bringing people together, being a service, making a difference, being innovative. If I'm just focused on me, which is Leo energy, there's no we happening. So we're learning to balance what I want, what my friends want, and how do those things work best together. That's kind of a simplified version of Leo versus Aquarius. And then the same thing with what does leadership want and what does the people want? And again, how do we meet in the middle? How does leader get what he wants sometimes? The people get what they want sometimes, right? There has to be give and take, back and forth. This is an axis that we are moving on constantly. It's never all on the north end. It's never all on the south end. This is something that's constantly moving and changing. And the nodes are teachers. They're lessons that show up and they're faded. And so there's something that the sun will shine a light on about this next 20 months that we have of this work, specifically with the North Node in Aquarius and the South Node in Leo, that we need to understand. And there's a lot that we have to learn throughout the process. And today we even see this kite formation. Opposition for this one is between the sun and the south node and that north node in Aquarius. And then we have this grand fire trine. This is very brief. So this is like a quick hit, a quick opportunity that presents itself today. And we have to allow this opportunity to push us, like to create some tension. This always tells me that there's some tension involved in whatever this opportunity is that presents itself. And it's information that comes out today with that Mercury in Leo, speaking in harmony with that moon in Sagittarius. And they are both speaking in harmony over here with the planet or asteroid Pallas Athena. So there can be a woman in a leadership role that is a part of this puzzle today, part of this information, part of this opportunity. This kite also includes the minor triangle between this, as I mentioned, moon in Sagittarius, and then that north node in Aquarius, and over here to Pallas Athena. We even have another asteroid here, and we even have Chiron. So we have Vesta is the other one here. So there is some role that women are playing in whatever we're being tested about as we hit this energy on Saturday. It's brief, and again, unless you have planets in these areas in the chart, you may not notice them, but specifically anybody with a 29-degree Leo, 29-degree Aquarius, they're going to be in the spotlight today, going to be challenged in some way, and it will be up to them to rise above this challenge or, fail the test and then have the consequences that come along with that test. And we definitely have some leaders in the United States that are going to feel the impact of this energy on Saturday specifically. But it could, of course, be a few days before. I don't think it'll be too much after, but I think whatever's going on this week leading up to now, this is the crescendo event. And that kite's going to fly high and everybody's going to see whatever it is that we need to understand. And of course, it's born out of fate, conflict. So Saturday could be a really, really interesting day. And as a result of whatever happens on Saturday, as we move on into Sunday, and of course now the sun has moved into the sign of Virgo, so happy birthday, welcome to Virgo season. And as it moves here, it is speaking in harmony with Chiron. And so that says that there could be, a leadership person that is maybe of ill health, and there could be some announcement about their healing journey, for instance. Now, this is something from the past, because if you've been following me, I've been telling you Chiron has just been in the sign of Taurus since the middle of June. Now it's recently gone retrograde, and it'll stay here at the 0 degrees, this reset moment when it comes to all topics of health and healing, until the middle of September. And that means to me, Chiron being retrograde during these eclipse season, is that there's still something about the healing journey that we don't completely understand yet. And it won't be until next March, once Chiron's back into the sign of Taurus, where we'll continue and move forward and get much farther into the sign until 2033, that we'll fully understand what's going on now in August. So there is much more for us to learn. But the nice thing is when the sun moves into the sign of Virgo is it's a great month to focus in on health and healing, on getting organized, focusing on the details. There's a spotlight on information and conversations. So get ready for a shift, of course, to occur. And this one is also starting to line us up for that full moon lunar eclipse that's coming in just a few days next week. So, not overly challenging week. We have our moments that we, of course, will work our way through, but it's still, as I've mentioned, it's eclipse season, so everything that's going on is very much fated, and we have to get in alignment with whatever opportunities or changes are showing themselves to us and do what we're being guided to do, but do it slowly. This isn't the time for like knee-jerk reactions, and those kinds of changes will kind of bite you in the butt. It's time to sit with it and definitely go where you're being guided, but take your time. This is a journey. It's not a race. As I mentioned, this is just the beginning of this journey. But next week, what we will see is the full moon lunar eclipse. And so, as I've mentioned, that is going to, close a chapter that we've been working on since late 2024. As the nodes were getting ready to switch, they switched in January of 2025. But we started seeing the Virgo Pisces eclipses in 2024. So as that moon moves into the sign of Pisces and it's a full moon lunar eclipse, we are being guided by the sun and Mercury. So there is something that we've learned. So let me back this up for a second. So we'll have next week Mercury Cazimi. So Mercury and the sun joining in the sign of Virgo that Mercury rules and could bring us some mind-blowing information. And as a result of what we learn, then we have the full moon lunar eclipse, and that moon is in the sign of Pisces. It'll be at 5 degrees, and Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. Pisces is the end of things. Pisces is, again, ruled by Neptune, things that happen beneath the surface, underneath the water. And that eclipse can, bring something to a dramatic ending as I mentioned, both the sun and the moon will be squaring to Uranus in the sign of Gemini. So again, Gemini ruled by Mercury. So again, more information, more details, more shocks, more surprises, more explosive events are possible next week. So make sure you've clicked on that subscribe button. Come back next week and I'll do a breakdown for everybody with their sign about what to focus in on. Remember, I don't say about setting new intentions with any of these events during eclipse season, but it's a great time to work on closure and release and ending things, especially carrying around emotional baggage that you've been carrying for years. Maybe it's this 19-year cycle since 2007 when we had this set of eclipses before, and you're just done. You just can't keep doing that anymore. Oh, this is the perfect time to pack up those bags and send them off. So let me know what's going on for you with this energy. We'll come back next week and break it all down. And if you want a head start, go out, read the article that I have created for you so that you can take a look at what this means for you. And of course, if you have planets or you have your rising sign or your midheaven at that 5 degrees of Pisces, you're going to feel whatever this ending is more dramatically. But you can also look back to 2007 or even 2017 when we had the opposite set of eclipses and to get some ideas of what to prepare for. And then, of course, I also have every day up here the daily tarot cards so that you can get a little tidbit of information along with a little astrology lesson. So it's the best way to follow me. So just the other channels that can present you with my information, I show up on all of them so that you can be fully prepared for the day ahead. So check those out. As I mentioned, I'll have the link to that right here at this end of this video so you can check out what today's message was as far as the cards go, and then tune in every day and be fully prepared for the week ahead. All right, guys, we'll be back here next week and see what the grand conclusion will be all about. Take care, everybody. Thank you.